Hey everybody, you're going to be watching a video called 13 Stupid Things Atheists Say, and we're doing a continuing series of these videos of Stupid Things Atheists Say. And you know what's funny? I've never run out of things to talk about on these videos. So we love the atheist. I myself used to be an atheist, when I was a kid, but then I grew up. And but what we're doing with atheism is we're getting atheism and we're showing it to be the clown that it is. We're getting it by the scruff of its neck and we're forcing it to look into the mirror. And even though the atheists close their eyes, we force them to open up their eyes, and when they open up their eyes and they look in the mirror, they see themselves with big red hair, big red nose, big red shoes, and all their stupid polka dot glory. And we love the atheists, and atheism leads to this anyways. Right here, this dude, you don't want to go to hell. Jesus said you're either with me or against me. So let's go through the list. We're going to get on the motorcycle and we're going to take you to some beautiful scenery as we talk about the 13 stupid things that atheists say. Now, if you're a Christian, you know this motorcycle is a product of intelligent design. Do you know that this motorcycle is less complex and fine-tuned than the universe? So none of us here, including atheists, would believe that this motorcycle just popped into existence uncaused out of nothing. Well, then you can't believe the universe did, because the universe is actually more complex and fine-tuned than this motorcycle. If you believe this motorcycle is the product of intelligent design, rationally, logically, you must believe that the universe is a product of intelligent design, because it is more fine-tuned and complex than even this motorcycle. But let's get to clowning around, shall we, so to speak. Let's talk about atheism being a clown, and it doesn't even know it, but it will after this. Here's the things we're going to talk about. 13 stupid things atheists say. We're going to get on the motorcycle, and we're going to go through them. I'm going to debunk all these while riding a motorcycle. They'll say, God killed more than Satan. Let's close the visor. They'll say, we are both atheists. I just go one further. They'll also say people disagree on morals, therefore morals are not objective. They'll say nothing created the universe. They'll also say evolution proves God doesn't exist. And then they always say, you've heard this, well, if everything has a creator, then who created God? And then, of course, why would God send me to hell if he doesn't show evidence? We'll talk about that and we'll debunk that. If God exists, then why is there evil? There wouldn't be any evil if God exists. That's how they talk. They sound like Stewie from Family Guy. There wouldn't be any evil if God exists. Mother. How can there only be one way to God? That's what they always say. How could there only be one way? They'll also say luck and chance created the universe. Let's get on the motorcycle and let's do this. And the other ones are, they'll say atheists are happier than Christians. They'll also say atheists are more honest than Christians. And of course, the biggest lie atheists always tell, and we'll be talking about that, is that atheists have a purpose. No, they don't. I'm going to prove it here on this video. So let's turn the key. Let's get ready here. We're going to launch out into the deep on the freeway. Then I'm taking you to some beautiful, absolutely beautiful, wide open scenery as we hit the California roads. We're going to give this a few revs here. If you notice, I moved the camera onto the chin area. We used to have it on the chest area, but as I moved my head left and right, you couldn't see the camera moving because the chest was stationary. Okay, we've got this. Look at this. Yellow's good. Ooh, big bump there. Awesome. Woohoo! So let's start off with the first one. It always cracks me up. They'll say, well, God killed more than Satan. Aren't they admitting that God exists? Even though I'm going to show you how the only people God killed are people that were being judged by him, and Satan is the reason why we have death in this world, because sin came into the world. Otherwise, we are going to live forever. Remember how God put
people in a paradise, and all we had to do was take care of the world, take care of this paradise. And of course, mankind bought the lie of Satan. So let's talk about that. If an atheist is saying that God killed more people than Satan, you have to admit, at least they're admitting that God exists. How could he kill people if he doesn't exist? And for that matter, how could Satan kill people if he doesn't exist? So even if we grant the stupid atheist clown, as we honk their nose, we're honking their nose. Even if we grant that God killed more people than Satan, which I'm not going to grant that. I'm going to show you some facts in a moment. We still are both admitting God exists, so thank you, atheists. You little clowns, you little atheists. Atheists are the bozos of intellectualism. So if they say that God killed more, what you do is you say, well, where? And they'll say, remember the flood? Okay, so now they're admitting the flood took place. Thank you, atheists. You little clowns. Sorry, I'm stepping on your giant shoes as we do this video. But, okay, so God killed people in the flood. He was judging the world. Well, God's the author of life. He can give life. He can take it away. He has the right to do that. I admit that God killed people. The atheists admit that God killed people, so that just adds more proof and evidence on my side that I'm right, that God exists. However, remember how no one would die physically. Remember in Scripture how God says, look, don't eat of this tree, knowledge of good and evil, because if you do, you will surely die. And he's talking about this death, this spiritual death, also a physical death. They ended up getting real aged and old, and they started having problems like every one of us will have as time goes by. And by the way, we're getting off the freeway here. It's coming up. It's going to be beautiful. 2 more exits. Let's pick up some throttle. So I hope you guys like the new camera angle. I can turn my head left or right. And for example, let's say we want to see how type of tires this dangerous semi has as we fly by it. So Satan tempts Adam and Eve, and he basically plummets Adam and Eve and all of history and all of humankind into this physical and spiritual digression, where now we have cancer in the world, now we have diabetes in the world, now we have these problems in the world. Before there were no physical infirmities. I don't know why people don't blame this on the evil one, Satan. Sweet, gentle, loving Jesus had this to say about Satan, is that he was a liar from the beginning. He is a liar from the beginning. He lies because that's his nature. So when atheists say that God killed more than Satan, it's just one of the stupid things. Let's go to another thing where they say, well, we're both atheists. I just go one God more. Atheists, you little clowns, you gotta quit saying that statement. A Christian is not an atheist because a Christian admits that God exists. To be an atheist, you have to reject any God's existence. Any God's existence. And yeah, here comes our off-ramp here. You're going to love this beautiful open road. So to be an atheist, you have to deny any God's existence. So when atheists tell me, they can say I used to be an atheist, but they can't call me as a Christian an atheist. How could I, being a Christian, be an atheist? That's so stupid. An atheist must reject that God exists. Even if you admit that there's one true God like I do, you still cannot be an atheist. And you can't say you're an atheist, I just go one God more. You know how atheists say that? No, atheists, listen, Christians are not atheists. As I honk your nose. So, look at this beautiful open scenery. We got some good turns in here. So let's go to the next one here. Oh! The next one is people disagree on morals. Therefore, there's no objective morality. This is stupid. So we're going to talk about what objective morality is first. Objective morality is this. If you believe that what Hitler did is wrong when he killed the Jews, and it's wrong even if you and I have friends that are Nazis and they hate the Jews, but it's still wrong objectively. Even if the Nazis were able to brainwash us, which they wouldn't be able to, but even if we were brainwashed to think like the Nazis, it's still objectively wrong what Hitler did. You know, gassing the Jews, killing the kids, all that. It's wrong no matter what someone thinks about it. So this is what we mean by objective moral values. In other words, rape is wrong even if the person's the rapist and they don't think it's wrong. It's wrong. There's a carved in stone objective ruling on this that comes from God. In other words, why is homosexuality wrong? Because God is pure. Why is cheating on your boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, husband, wife? Why is cheating on them wrong? Because God is faithful. So Christians believe all these objective morality, these objective morals and objective morality comes from God. We got to pick this up. We got a lot. I might go back and go through these. So what atheists are saying when they're saying, well, since people disagree, like the rapist disagrees on rape, he wants to rape, therefore there's no objective morality. No, what you're talking about is, you're talking about ontology versus epistemology. Epistemology is, let's say you're a little kid and you don't really have this knowledge of objective morality yet. You don't know what's right or wrong. You're a bozo clown wearing suit. You have a clown costume on. You're an atheist, let's say, like I was when I was younger. I grew up, though. Took off the tough skins, put on some good American Levi's that men wear. And most of you guys are children. If you're atheist, most of you are children, so don't worry. Your parents will let you watch this video. I do not use profanity. So you could tell your mom and dad it's okay to watch my video. So that way you still get dessert. We're opening up a giant valley over here as we come around the corner. But atheists, they are confused with what moral epistemology is. That's how we come to learn what is wrong. Remember how your mom and dad, hey, don't hit your little sister, that's wrong. You know, and you come to learn these objective moral values. That's epistemology, that you could come to learn them. And I agree that we can come to learn objective moral values, even here in America, in the West, where, let me downshift here, they're slowing up a bit. Even in the West, where we had to teach the nation, the Republicans did, the Democrats still wanted slavery. Go watch D'Souza's movie called Death of a Nation, which I saw, by the way. You'll realize how evil the Democrat Party is. Yeah, I said it. But Death of a Nation goes through and documents how the Republicans had to show the world and show the United States that slavery was wrong, and they had to kind of convince the Democrats, because they really pushed slavery and wouldn't let go of it. Okay, so let's go. So by the way, just because people disagree on objective moral values, or they deny them, like the rapist denies objective moral values, doesn't mean that there are no objective moral values. And this is a great argument. If God does not exist, then objective moral values do not exist. But since rape is wrong, murder is wrong, child abuse is wrong, we know that these things are objective. These are objective moral values. There's atheists that even admit that, some atheists, that admit that objective moral values exist. But on atheism, you can't ground objective moral values. But with God, you can ground them because, like I said, all these objective truths come from the nature of wonderful God. Look at this beautiful view. I love when it's a wide open space. Let's see what else we have. Nothing created the universe. Atheists are now being embarrassed. They're forced to make the argument that nothing created the universe because with modern science, ladies and gentlemen, not the old outdated and proven untrue Darwinism. You know, Darwin, they were like in the horse and buggy days. But modern science has shown that the universe had a beginning. All matter, space, time, even energy, everything material, and all energy had to come into existence. So this means that matter couldn't create itself. Energy couldn't create itself. Something created space, time, matter, energy. And the way they know is you could rewind the expansion of the universe backwards and it all comes back to what they say, as you know, is the singularity. And before the singularity, there was no singularity. The singularity is not eternal. So what created the universe? We really have two choices: nothing or something spiritual. Something spiritual does not violate those laws that there was no energy, because a spirit is not like natural energy. And spirit is not matter, and a spirit isn't restricted by time, and a spirit isn't restricted by space. There could be no space, no universe, and the spirit can still exist. It's interesting that in Scripture, the first page starts off, in the beginning, God. He's already pre-existing. God did not need to be created. And so it makes sense to posit that God did it is much more rational than nothing did it. And yes, there are atheists out there that are claimed, like Lawrence Krauss, by the way. He looks like Larry from the Three Stooges. Lawrence Krauss is going around the debate circuit. He's an atheist, and he's going around saying that nothing did it. Nothing is the absence of anything. I just gassed up my motorcycle. If I put nothing in the gas tank, I wouldn't be able to make this video right now. Nothing is the absence of anything, and the absence of anything is powerless because it doesn't exist. There's no existence of it. So it's just so stupid how they say nothing created the universe. Let's go to evolution proves God doesn't exist. As you know, there's lots of atheists on YouTube that are obsessed with evolution. One of the most obsessed, I mean, he's obsessed. Watch his debate with Kent Hovind, Aaron Ra, or whatever the way he pronounces it. A-R-O-N and then R-A. Click below this video. I have the full debate at my debates blog, the full debate where Aaron Ra actually says that animals and pine cones come from the same kind. They're like the same kind. It's just madness. But we shouldn't trust Aaron Ra anyways, because if someone doesn't know how to make their hair less oily and how to detangle it, we shouldn't trust them with more complicated things and more complex things. If someone doesn't know what type of shampoo to use to fix their oily hair, we should not listen to them on more complex things. Especially, Aaron Ross says that you're just an ape. He goes, we're all apes, he says. And he says that humans came from pine cones. They're all in the same family. They have the same ancestor. It's just madness. If someone's faithful to little things, like what type of shampoo to use, then you may be faithful in the big thing. So, evolution is a theory on how things change over time. Now, if someone says evolution is true, that's not a true statement. If someone says evolution is false, that's not a true statement. Hear me out. Because part of evolution, the creation part, is true. Microevolution is change within limits. We have different types of dogs: Doberman, the Lhasa Apso, the German Shepherd, the Cocker Spaniel. We have change within limits. We don't see dogs transforming into bears or whales, or we don't see that. We have no fossil evidence that any of transitional fossils, any of these transitions have ever occurred. So we don't have any proof and evidence that macroevolution is true, but we do have proof and evidence that microevolution is true, which is change within limits. How we have different variations even in humans. You have Chinese people, black people, albino people, white people, Russian people, people with in the Middle East. We have Iranian people, people from Iraq. They all basically share the same features, but there's different minor changes with the limits. So when someone says, do you believe in evolution, just say, well, I believe in the creation part, microevolution. We knew about that a long time ago. Hold on, let's get around this, dude. That's change within limits. Say, but I don't believe in what hasn't been proven yet, macroevolution. I strongly suggest that this card does not move out. I strongly suggest that you go to creation.com, look below this video, and we're going to show you some documented lies and frauds that the atheist scientists, the secularists, are trying to push into society. If everything has a cause, then what caused God? So one of the arguments that Christians make, but atheists, they dishonestly change the wording. We say everything that begins to exist has a cause. For example, like the universe began to exist. It has a cause. So no Christian believes that God was created. In fact, it's sinful to believe that God is created. So atheists, you got to quit saying who created God. At least on that, you and I agree, atheists, that there's no such thing as created gods. You guys, you atheist clowns, don't believe it. And we don't believe that there's created God. So I don't know where the disagreement's at, but you've got to quit dishonestly saying that Christians are saying that God was created. Ben Shapiro was, he's a theist, and he was at a university, and an atheist said, what is the best argument for God's existence? And Ben Shapiro talked about how atheism is not an intellectual position because you need something that always existed that didn't have to be created. We need to have something that cannot not exist, because if that thing needed to be created, then it couldn't create the next thing, and in the series of events, everything would collapse. We'd have no life here. There must be something, when you really think about it, that cannot not exist. It must exist necessarily by its own nature. And God is that prime mover. God is the uncaused cause of everything. You cannot have an infinite regress of causes. Everyone should get this. Even the atheist clowns. You should get this, you guys. You should get that there has to be something that always existed, because life comes from life. We've never seen life come from non-life. We've never seen that. I know there's these experiments where the guy electrocuted and shocked these chemicals in a lab in a very carefully controlled experiment that was done using intelligent design, where he got some of these compounds to kind of create some different changing type of compounds. That's not really creating life, and plus you're using intelligent design to do those experiments. We've never seen life come from non-life. We've always seen life come from something. So that whole thing, if everything has a creator who created God, no one says everything has a creator. We said everything that begins to exist has a cause. Why would God judge me if I don't see evidence? Well, there's another, that's one thing the atheists say. There's another theory to this. Maybe you do know God exists, but you're suppressing the truth in unrighteousness. There's lots of drunks that deny they're alcoholics. There's lots of druggies that deny they're addicted to drugs. And there's lots of atheists that deny God exists. So, Scripture says that the atheist does indeed know God exists. Read the first 2 pages of Romans. It talks about them suppressing this truth in unrighteousness. You ever go in the swimming pool and you get like a volleyball or whatever, basketball, and you try to push it underneath the water, And what happens? It pushes back at you, so you have to suppress this basketball underneath the water. And this is what atheists do with the truth of God. Every day they're suppressing it. That's why they work so hard at bashing God. Have you ever noticed that there's thousands of videos of atheists bashing God? They never bash Satan. Why don't they bash Satan? Why do they bash God? They're both in Scripture. We know who their daddy is. Remember how Jesus said, look, I do the will of my Father, you do the will of your father. He's saying that their father is Satan in that passage. He's talking to these people that reject Jesus Christ, just like atheists do, and he's saying they're doing the will of Satan. Not a good place you want to be, is doing the will of Satan. Okay, let's see what's else on our list here. So it says, they say, why would God send me to hell if there's no evidence? Scripture says, indeed, there is evidence, enough evidence. You could always have more evidence or less evidence. The question is, do you have enough evidence? And Scripture says, indeed, there is enough evidence for you to be responsible for your sin. If God exists, then why is there evil? First of all, the fact that the atheist is saying, why is there evil if God exists, proves that God exists, because if we're just atheist flesh blobs, we're all just atheist clowns going around, and there is no free will. A lot of atheists say there's no free will, and we're all just a blob of cells. What difference does it make if one cell attacks another cell and hurts them? What difference does it make? There is no objective morality, right? The fact that the atheists recognize that there is evil proves that God exists, because you can't have objective evil if you can't have objective good. Where does this objective good come from? Again, from the nature of God. There would be no evil if we're all just blobs of cells. I call atheist flesh blobs. Another thing, too, that the atheist doesn't get is we're not God's little, like, hamsters in a little, whatever you put hamsters in, their little house, terrarium, or whatever the heck it is. We're not God's little hamsters that he takes care of, and he has to, burp and feed and put over his shoulder and change our diapers. We're adults. We're men and women with free will. It's not God's job to take care of us like his little pets. And I think a lot of atheists, they've gone through tough times in their life, and they still haven't grown up, and so they get their little feelings hurt that God didn't help them out of their so-called problem. So once this light turns, we'll take a look at the next thing. Another thing, too, why does God allow evil? Remember, I used to be an atheist. I thank God that God allows some evil, because otherwise I would have already been judged when I was an atheist. So thank God that he is merciful, he is patient, and he allows some evil. If an atheist asks you, why does God allow evil? Bring up what I just said, how grateful I am that God does allow some evil. There is going to be a day when he says, okay, enough is enough, and he judges the world. Scripture talks about that. Jesus came in the beginning as a little baby, but he's coming back as a warrior to go to war with the armies of the world that are antichrist, and to take back what is his. So there will be a day of judgment. Let's see here. How can there only be one way to God? Remember, Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Nobody comes to me. There has to only be one way, because have you guys heard of the law of non-contradiction? Islam and atheism cannot get you to God. They both contradict each other. Islam and Christianity can both not get you to God. Both of them can't, because they contradict each other. Left can't be right, and right can't be left, and up can't be down, and down can't be up. If things contradict, they both can't be really the right answer. If one's saying Islam is the only way, and the other is saying Jesus Christ is the only way, they both can't be true. I mean, you guys get this, right? The law of non-contradiction applies. Atheists say luck and chance created the earth and the universe and all that. Luck and chance are powerless. If you threw a basketball into a hoop blindfolded, you threw it up there 100 times, and 20 times you make the basketball in, well, sure, we'll say you got lucky 20 times, but there's an intelligent agent throwing the basketball. So luck is just a label, and chance is a label we put on things, showing what just happened. Oh, he threw the basketball 100 times, and 20 times he got it in the hoop blindfolded. That was his luck, 20 out of 100. But you had to throw the basketball. Luck doesn't have power to lift up the ball. Luck certainly doesn't have power to create the universe. You flip a coin 100 times, 50 times it lands on heads, 50 times it lands on tails. Luck is the little label we give to it. Oh, 50 times it landed on heads, 50 times it landed on tails. That's your luck. But you had to flip the coin. There's always an intelligent agent involved. Luck cannot do anything. And let's wrap it up with this. They say atheists are happier. No, you're not atheist. And I'm not clowning around. You guys have the highest suicide rate in the world. You don't kill yourself because you're happy. You kill yourself because you're depressed. The next thing is atheists are more trusted. That's a lie too. Recent studies in 2018 show that atheists are actually least trusted in society. Would you trust someone that says they're just an ape? Would you trust someone that says luck created the universe? I don't think so. That person's not thinking correctly. And last but not least, atheists have a purpose. No, you don't. You don't. Christians, atheists, Muslims, everyone agrees that science has shown, and this is where science is on the Christian side again. Science has proven that the universe is winding down, and unless God steps in, by the way, everything is going to die. All human life will die. So when an atheist says that he's, evolving our species to a better species and he's trying to protect the species, no, you're not. The future of your atheism, where's the camera? The future of your atheism ends in death. Purposeless death. And this is on the atheist worldview. Not even comparing to anything else. The atheist must admit the universe dies, so any good that this so-called good this atheist is saying that they're doing, no one's going to remember it anyway, so what difference does it make? It doesn't. And this is why atheists have such a high suicide rate. They know, and they know that their life has no purpose. Now, you could pretend you have a purpose, like when you play Call of Duty and you're the #1 player and you won the multiplayer match. You could pretend that meant something. But in the real world, it's just a game. It wasn't a real war. It wasn't real weapons. It wasn't real bullets. And you winning that match. Oh, I took the wrong corner here. Let's go around. You winning that match. Oh, no, here it is. You winning that match does not have any effect on anything at all. So atheists do not have a purpose in life. Their end, unfortunately, is death. The universe is going to die. So what good does it do for an atheist to be atheist? It really didn't accomplish anything. It ends with this dude right here. It ends with this dude. You see, I was right. This has been 13 stupid things that atheists always say.